Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Mega Agent Mastery. We're going 5 questions today with Larry Hall. Larry is an agent with Real Broker out of
Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas, which is how far away from the Chief Stadium?
I am about 2 hours and 47 minutes.
All right, so I have this weird goal. It's like one football season, I'm going to pick up the tickets that you're selling.
Yeah,
Yeah, you sold tickets what twice last season, and I was like, oh man. But it's like a 12-hour drive from where I'm at. But I just heard Chief Stadium is like the ultimate stadium to watch a pro football game in.
dude, it's an experience.
Yeah. So it's one that I want to let's just call it a bucket list item.
Yeah.
All right, so Larry, tell us about um just intro about you. I mean, you're on a team, you run a team. What's going on there?
Yep. So I've been in real estate now for about 10 years. I started my team about 5 years ago. Well, I guess it's probably been closer to 6 years now. 2018. So 5 or 6 years ago, whenever that was. Um, And yeah, so I mean, I've been running my team now for however long, and um, last year we did 54 transactions. So um, yeah, I know to some that probably won't sound like very much, but here in our Kansas slow pace of life, we just got our numbers yesterday, and I was in the top 200 agents. So
Nice.
we have roughly 2,500 agents here. So, um, I don't know, top 8%. I feel like that's fairly
Not
decent.
not too shabby.
Yeah.
Well, what about Big Larry's Burgers? Is that like the place to get a burger in Wichita?
I mean, in Valley Center. Yeah. So Valley Center is about 10 minutes to the north of Wichita. And I mean, born and raised here in Valley Center. And, I started working there when I was 12. And I, let's see, I worked there, gosh, probably 12 or 13 years before I went full-time real estate. Of course, I started when I was 12, so I didn't get licensed in real estate till I was 20. Um, in fact, tax day in 2015, I got licensed. So,
It's interesting. Did you have issues selling real estate at such a young age? I mean, having issues with people taking you seriously?
I kind of did because pretty, I was pretty, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, I was pretty raw. I knew close to nothing. Very first client I ever got was actually from a Cinco de Mayo party from one of my old high school teachers that said, "Hey, this guy's new in real estate. You should give him a shot." And it was like an $80,000 house, and I was thrilled.
That's awesome. Uh,
It,
well, the
yeah,
restaurant business is such a great transition, I feel like, into real estate. I mean, we just talk a lot on these calls about that real estate is basically just talking to people. The more you talk to people, the more business you do. And I was in the restaurant business, and I just feel like, you know, it's a little bit of a pressure cooker too. So a lot of things that happen in that industry, I think, prepare us in some respects for real estate. So
absolutely. You got to have the customer service. You got to be able to talk to people. You got to just you know, real estate's kind of like a melting pot. We get a little bit of everybody, a little bit of um, every sort of diversity and all that. It's with being able to kind of adapt to our clients is ultimately the best thing.
yeah. All right. Well, let's get rolling. You ready to do 5 questions?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. All right, number one, I've got what are the top three most critical areas for real estate agents to focus on in the first quarter of 2025 to gain a competitive edge? What say you?
So I was thinking about this the other day whenever you had mentioned this to me, and you know, it kind of goes back to you don't always have to be the best to get the business. You know, kind of like what Jared mentions on, visibility trumps ability. The number one thing that I'm doing in my business in 2025 is making a concerted effort to get on video more. And you know we as agents, we have to be top of mind. I still, to this day, 10 years in, I have people that say, oh, are you still doing real estate? Well, yeah, you obviously don't follow along. Aren't sure. So and that, to that point, you know we I ended up, actually, literally last week, I hired a VA to help me with all of my editing and all that for videos. So I have a whole stockpile of videos ready to go out and to post. And I mean, that's number one. Number two, I would say, is, you know, if you know your paperwork, then you're going to succeed, because whenever you're going to showings, people are asking you questions. As long as you don't just come up with something out of your butt, then you're going to be okay. It's always best just say, hey, I'm really not sure, but I'll find out for you. And that's the one of the best things to say whenever you are in those showings is, if you don't really know, don't just come up with something.
Yeah.
Uh, And then, number three, I started in with a group of agents within our brokerage last year, to where we're putting on between 2 and 3 events a month for our past clients, SOI, vendors. Basically, I mean, some of them are uh, open to everybody. Like, we have girls' nights every single month. We have one a month that literally everybody is invited. The whole city of Wichita and surrounding areas is invited. Obviously, not everybody comes to those, but we're putting it out there, inviting people. And, the old way of doing things was, you got a cold call, you always got to be asking, you got to be seeking people out for business, which, I mean, you still do. But our thing with putting on all the events is, we're inviting people to these things, we're creating value for these people, we're being top of mind for these people, and whenever they have things that they need done, they call us. Like, to where, even like if their AC goes out, they're calling us before they call a company to come out and fix it, because they want to know whose layer you're using.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm really intrigued about these events. So, I mean, you go to the ladies' night, or is it a female agent on your team running it?
Nope, I go.
And so, what is? Do y'all just meet at a happy hour, a bar, y'all bar hop? What does it look like?
So we have done anywhere from, like, we went to a interior design place and just kind of had like a little pop-up shop for a boutique there, with drinks and food and stuff like that. This last one that we did in December was actually a wrapping party, to where people could bring in their Christmas presents and we wrap it for them. And we had some little finger foods and margaritas, and then we played bingo while some of us were wrapping all the presents. So that was a really good time. The one that we actually have next week, we're getting together at a local coffee shop, and it's going to be making vision boards for the year. So we thought that would be kind of neat. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like, we average probably between 10 and 50 people at these. So I mean, it's not like a huge thing, but we're putting it out there. We're getting all the social media advertising. People are seeing it. We each have our own little VIP groups on Facebook that we send everything to. And so I mean, there's lots of different avenues to advertise those.
Interesting. So um are you and your team still or are you generating a lot of internet leads and still like preaching like phone prospecting and an hour of power or time blocking and all those kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, we still do it, but frankly, it's not my number one source anymore, because I've created a just kind of a network of business that comes into me pretty well. So, I don't do it as much as I used to, and in fact, that's that's kind of why I started to hire some of that out. Um, in an ISA kind of thing. So that it's kind of starting to buy back my time a little bit.
Yeah. I would, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say that phone prospecting is not natural to most people. So you
Right.
bring them into this industry and you're like, here's, a list of 100 names and get your cell phone out and just start dialing them. It's very uncomfortable to people. And so it's way more natural, I think, to have a conversation over a margarita, at a pop-up than it is to do it over the phone.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I would say just on the ISA front, like Andrew encouraged me to hire one just for like, video editing and things like that. I've hired him for ISA purposes in the past and not had the best luck, but I think I was doing it wrong. So I was like telling the ISA, well, first of all, hiring the ISA to do your video editing and help you with the social media posting. I mean, that is probably one of the most valuable resources I have right now. But in terms
Yeah.
of hiring one from an ISA standpoint, you know, I was like putting all the calling duties on them, and I think if I hired one today, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this, I think I would just have them call and say, hey, Jason's out showing, wanted me to call and touch base, just make sure you don't have any needs right now. If you need anything, vendor referral, go set up a showing or whatever, I'll get the message to them right away. Instead of trying to be the converter and sell them on the team and all that stuff. What is
Right.
is that kind of similar to what you're directing that or will be directing a calling ISA to do? Just
Yep.
kind of be your assistant, like, hey, Larry slammed, but he just doesn't want, to drop the ball. What's going on? What can we do for you?
Yep. You hit the nail on the head. That's pretty much exactly what we're doing. Because
And
we just got a lead. Um, what is today? Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it is. We got one on Saturday that came in, and one of my team members went out and showed him a $1.6 million house, and that was just a lead that signed up through our website, and we were out showing them the very next day.
yeah. How long have you been doing the ISA for follow up?
Uh, Literally today is my very first day.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to just circle back with you on that. But let's get to question number two. I think this is going to be a good segue for a question. I've been wanting to ask you like a question within a question about the chicken sandwich videos. But question number two is what are your top three strategies for generating consistent leads throughout the year, even in slower seasons?
Yeah. So number one, you got to get on video. You know, that's the number one thing overall. Is even if you are a brand spanking new agent, like you just got your license yesterday, you got to get yourself on video. You're not going to be comfortable with it at first. You just got to wing it. You got to put yourself out there and just become comfortable with it. Um, I mean, ultimately, you can't be a secret agent. People got to know that you're out there, that you're available, and you're ready to rock and roll. Um, and that's and you got to. I mean, you got to switch it up. So, like you were talking about my chicken sandwich videos, which those are gonna start rolling out again probably next week. Because I not gonna lie, I kind of got burnt out on chicken sandwiches there for.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, you could switch to, what, barbecue or, I mean, cheeseburgers. Who's got the best burger? I guess
Yep.
you probably got to be careful there with the family.
Well, and I still have a whole list of chicken places that I need to get to. So I'm gonna finish my list, and then I've had multiple requests to do tacos next.
Wow. Well, we had a real estate agent down on the Alabama Gulf Coast on one of these calls, and all he does is create these like videos. They're under a minute. Most of them are like probably 30 seconds, where he gets on there and he'll just say, "Here are the top five. Here are my top five favorite chicken places in town."
Yeah.
And when people see him around town, they go, "Hey, you're the top five guy from TikTok." So did anybody ever approach you and say, "Hey, aren't you that chicken sandwich guy?" Or was it a conversation starter at all? Has it led to anything yet?
Dude, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I'll be just talking to somebody and they'll bring it up. Like it happens literally probably daily. Of whenever I'm talking to somebody, it gets brought up.
All right. So when I started my real estate team, I was with Keller Williams. I hired a real estate coach. His name was Sean Kokoska. Okay. At the time, Sean Kokoska is the son of one of the of Diane Kokoska, who's like, who she is, like head, like I can't remember what role she's in, but I think like eventually she became like head of their MAPS coaching department. But at the time, Sean was in like the number one buyer's agent in America. So he gave me this script. Okay. I hired him as a coach. I was like, I need to coach these buyer's agents on what to say on the phone. And Sean gave us this mastery script, right? Um, and it's like, hey, this is Jason Will with the Jason Will Real Estate Team. Thanks for taking my call today. My purpose for my call today is just to see if you're still in the market to buy a home or if you've already purchased a property. So we got these embedded commands and all these things. And we've already talked about how uncomfortable that makes people. And so now there's been a big shift. You've kind of alluded to a shift in the way things um, are being done, but probably need to be done. So we've already said like, and the more conversations you have, the more your business grows. So I would imagine, and people just need to understand this because you do these chicken sandwich videos, people probably aren't calling you going, "Hey, Larry, I love your chicken sandwich video. Come list my house." They're saying, "Hey, Larry, I love your chicken sandwich videos." And then that just leads to a different conversation. And then maybe that will lead to a relationship, or maybe they'll say, I don't know, maybe down the road they'll say, "Hey, come list my house."
Yep.
So I think people need to understand that we're trying to create conversations in a way that's less awkward, less painful, and more about establishing a relationship.
Yep. And so I think putting yourself out there and showing that you're a real person, just like with a chicken sandwich video, rating your chicken sandwich, or uh, I've noticed lately that whenever I talk more about my family, I get tons of engagement on that. And I mean, it's not always about the engagement. It's
Hmm.
more, some of the family stuff is I put it out there, so then we get those like back in the day things from Facebook saying, "Here's what you did 5 years ago," or whatever. I like to see some of that because just yesterday I clicked on there and I saw back when my first son was born, or my oldest son, and that was pretty cool because I haven't looked at pictures like that in a while. So uh, it's all about just showing that you're a real person. I'm approachable. You can come up and talk to me, and I mean, you never know. It might lead to something down the road. Plus, if you come up and talk to me, you're going to get invited to all of our events also. And we like to have a good time.
Well, so let's recap. So video, would you say event, like the three things where you're generating leads? Would it be web, the
Yep.
internet, your events, and video?
Yep.
Oops, sorry about that.
If you don't have a Google page set up, you need to do it.
Well, that's interesting. I think, I was fishing a while back for somebody that's to get on these calls that's actually generating business from a Google My Business page, but not not necessarily just the Google ads you can run through that, or the Google local services ads you can run through that, just organically from being intentional about posting pictures and videos and reviews, and all those things.
So I might have somebody for you for that if you don't already have that.
I don't, and I really need that. So I think it's just something I I'm really bad about it. I need to put it on one of my whiteboards, like Google My Business. I neglect it so much. I'm pretty intentional about reviews, but I'm like, man, if I just put more content on this thing,
Yep.
if it was like, all right, because I'm already like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. I need to get this solidified. But yeah, I would love to get that referral. But also just wanted to mention, you talked about Facebook memories and things like that. When stuff pops up that I feel like is valuable, or brought in a lot of engagement, or whatever the case may be, I'll just repost it.
Yep.
If it's still relevant, so you get that. People just try to make this out to be like it's too much work, and it is a lot of work. Um, but
You get to a point where you can kind of recycle.
yeah, and you get like you said, like you have kind of a backlog of things. You've got all kind of different pieces of content that are ready to roll.
Yep.
All right. Well, are we ready to go to question number 3?
Let's do it.
All right. How do you stay motivated? This is big. How do you stay motivated and overcome challenges such as rejection, fluctuating market conditions? I mean, I just feel like we're in this emotional roller coaster with interest rates right now. Um, what motivates you? Obviously, when you start working at 12, I would imagine when you start working at that early age and learn the value of money, that helps. But um, what fuels your fire?
So here's kind of what I noticed about myself probably about 6 months ago. And so I'm a workhorse. Like I will just work, 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 work if you let me. Um, so I don't know if you guys know this, but so about a year and a half, we opened up an insurance company. We've been getting that off the ground as well. And then about 3 or 4 months ago, we actually opened a mortgage company as well. So we're kind of like our whole goal in that was to be a one-stop shop, and because you're going through deals and you're always doing, there's communication issues between those three typically.
Hmm.
And so if we were able to help somebody in all three aspects, you can just call essentially one or two people in that realm of things and get exactly what you need. Well, I noticed about 3 months ago where I was not present at home very often. Like
Yeah.
I would be home, but I wasn't present. And so I was talking to one of my buddies, and he's another real estate guy, and he goes, "Hey, what you need to do is you need to get just like a work line, and then get a new personal line that just your family has, and your close friends. So then somebody needs to get a hold of you after your quote unquote business hours, then they can." And so it's been about 2.5 months now. I got another phone. So after like I've had the same number for ever. Like it was the very first number I ever got, and I still have it to this day. So I transitioned that number into solely a work phone number, and now I have just a personal line as well. So um, to hit on like burnout, my phone goes on do not disturb at 7. It goes on the charger, and I don't look at it till 7:30 the next morning.
Mm.
So if I mean in real estate, can we really do a whole lot of like much after 7 o'clock, 7:30? I mean, it's still going to be there at 7 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
And that allows me to like put my kids to bed, and we eat dinner together, and I'm I'm there. How's your day? Did you have a good day at daycare? What'd you have for lunch? Stuff like that, and not just with my head buried in my phone. So I guess to hit on the burnout thing, I did that, and we try to get out of town about once a month, once every other month, just to kind of reset and recharge.
Love it. Yeah, so you're a naturally like self-accountable person. I mean, that's just typically goes without saying when you say, like I'm a workhorse. You're a worker type thing. What about this is one thing, just to just kind of throw this out there. When I do these calls on motivation, mindset, your big why, man, does it fall flat? There's so many agents at my brokerage, at other brokerages that join these calls that just struggle with this. They're like, I don't know what I want. I don't know what the outcome is that I desire. You know, what I'm just guessing here that your desire is just to, provide for your family, to be able to like I don't know, I was talking about this all the time. I like to go to the grocery store and I have a list, and the list has nothing to do with what the prices are. It's just like this is the stuff we need. I go and get it. A lot of people don't do that. They've got to, calculate everything that goes into the cart. But how do you find any issues with people being motivated on your team or at your brokerage? What are you seeing there? And do you ever have any solid advice to help them to connect to what drives them?
So ultimately, you have to dig down and you have to figure out why exactly you got into this business. Now, obviously, we got into it to, make money. We gotta pay our bills, all that good stuff, which that's any job, career, business, whatever it may be. Um, but you got to really dig down and figure out what exactly your inner self. Why did you get into this? And the one thing that I just broke it down one day, and ultimately I want to show my kids that dad can work hard, he can provide for his family, but he's still going to be present at home, and he's not going to miss a game, he's not going to miss a soccer game, basketball game, whatever it is, because whenever I was growing up, my dad only missed one baseball game my entire like kid life, and that was pretty impactful in my life. So that my dad worked his tail off, and he showed me what life you can build with while still being there for your kids, and showing them what life can be like.
Yeah, and so you saw yourself getting kind of off track in
Yeah.
what had been instilled in you. And so you got this, you know, separate line. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. Like if I had just like a flip phone that had, I would need it to have like no apps on it, just to be very, very basic, just to know that the people that need to reach me can reach me. I would need to at least know somebody from my business would be like, in case there was an emergency, something that couldn't wait until 7 the next morning, that, if it was an all hands on deck moment, that somebody could reach me and go, hey, go to your other phone. There's something over there you need to see. Man, would that be powerful, you know? Um, anyway, all right, let's keep going here. I know you're a busy guy. All right. So, we are on question number 4. What are the most important skills and qualities for a successful real estate agent in today's competitive market?
It's a good question. um I mean, kind of the cliche, you got to be a people person. You got to be able to talk with every walk of life. We're not going to relate with every walk of life, but we can empathize with a lot of people, as well as it I think you got to run it like a business, and that's something that I struggled with for a long time until probably the past year and a half of, I really got down and dug into what made money, what didn't make money. I held on to the big Z company for way too long, and spent a lot of money with them, and um, it didn't pay off. And so just recently, like within the past 2 months, I'm kind of the guinea pig with our mortgage company on what partnering with leads will look like. So we did just a very basic, cheap little uh, ad share with myself. So I got back into it and about 2 months ago, and so far it's super paid off. But we're only 2 months in; they still have time to change.
Right, 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 yeah, been there, done that, with the big Z, as it were. But I think probably the biggest thing we talk about on these calls, and really most everybody, I mean, either people either bring it up or they relate to it immediately. But we're just talking about the freedom. Like we can't handle the freedom.
Yep.
We've got to put some guardrails in place. um you know I think, I would say this too, like I've got that whole workhorse, gene. But there are times when, I'll succumb to the freedom and kind of get off track. But the agents I see that just are so inconsistent and flounder and have, just struggle to put a couple nickels together. It's just like tomorrow is always there for them to get, caught back up or to clock in. So they're always pushing their success to the next day. And so that's why my advice is like, fire you just not, we are not, um, or most of us are not, emotionally, psychologically, prepared to be our own bosses.
Yep.
But most agents need to, when they hear you say treat it like a business, I think they need to kind of go a step further down the totem pole and treat it like a job.
Yep.
Like you got to be there at, whether it's 8 or 9 o'clock where you're clocking in. That's when you got to clock in. There's a lot of folks this morning that are watching the third hour of the Today Show right now and still haven't clocked in, or moms are doing laundry. They got to get out of the house because they stay in the house, they're going to just get sucked into the housekeeping and all that kind of stuff.
And
So
that right there is another thing of why I think having an office and going into the office is so important, because I tried to do the whole work from home thing for like 3 months, and my gosh, I couldn't do it. It like kind of like what you just said. I saw laundry, I saw dishes. It's like, well, this needs to get done. Well, shoot, I will tell you, I did not sell a house that 3 months that I did that I worked from home.
yeah. And
It,
I mean, there's some people that can, like their office can legit be a coffee shop, but it's like you need to figure out where it is. Some people I know, they have a super like professional home office set up, and they go into that office and close the door. So for every one of us, it's different. And that's why one of the things I love about real estate is that it's not a one size fits all thing. I can't go to a coffee shop because I'll be too distracted.
yep.
Um, and so we need to figure out what works for us. But it is a little, I think, disturbing just how much of a ghost town real estate offices have become.
Yep. Well, and that's why I have a like 17 by 13 office, and it's mainly just me that comes in, but I got to have somewhere to go to separate home and work,
Mm.
because I mean, it, like you said, it's a blessing and a curse to have the freedom in real estate, but man, that curse can get you real quick if you're not careful.
Yeah, absolutely. And, figure out what is, you know, your curse and where is kind of the antidote for that? So I just heard something really interesting on a podcast I was listening to on the way to the office this morning about what kind of economy we're in. Are we in uh, I've heard Gary Vee talk a lot about this. We're in an attention economy. And then it kind of pivoted from there to a distraction economy. And now it kind of seems like we're in this addiction economy where, social media companies, food manufacturers, there's all these addictive qualities. And so, like, if you go down the rabbit hole with TikTok, um, it's probably a lot easier to do that at home than to do that in an office environment. But you got to figure things out, and that speaks to you getting two different phones or two different phone lines. Same difference. So love that. All right, let's get the last question out of the way and get you on the road to a productive day. Number 5, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in real estate who is looking to build a successful long-term career?
So we kind of hit on this earlier. Get on video, number one, like that. That should be your day one thing is start banking some videos, as well as get your open houses. Um, you can do them any day of the week, any time of the week, as long as they're productive. Around here, I've seen them done. Well, I personally have done them on Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So Thursday evenings from like 5 to 7, Saturdays from 1 to 4, and Sundays 2 to 4 is what I will typically do. Whenever I'm slow on business, I mean, the people walking through the door, they're either number one, nosy neighbor that's thought about selling in the past, or they want to check out like, hey, if this person gets this for their house, I want to get that for my house. Or it's a actual legit buyer that walks through the door, and unless they tell you like, hey, I'm working with so and so, you should always ask like, hey, are you working with an agent right now? But the people that walk through the door at open houses typically are not working with an agent unless they tell you right up front. So then that's a pretty fast source to get some business going, as well as you gotta tell your SOI, your sphere of influence. You gotta tell them, hey, I'm in real estate now. Um, I partnered up with a great team that has multiple years of experience. We've sold hundreds of houses. So I may be new, but my team is not new. And whenever you hire me, you're also getting my team as well. And so we're here to help you. I would love if you'd trust me
Mm.
to help you with obviously your biggest purchase of your life.
Well, I could not agree more. So, video, it's when so I've been in this business over 20 years, but when I went through the real estate course, um, and was coming through training, I just heard this over and over and over. Mail call C, mail call C, mail call C. So, it hasn't really changed that much. It's maybe the platforms have changed or the mediums have changed. But it's all about seeing and being seen. So, when you create these videos, you're not necessarily, I mean, you'll get to a place where there's going to be reverse prospecting, where people are just going to be reaching out to you, um, eventually going, hey, I want you to list my house because you're obviously good at this marketing thing. But the whole basic, I think, goal, or the simplest goal of it, is to engage, and engage means to converse. So I see
Yep.
a lot of agents, they'll, bite the bullet, they'll get on video, they'll post it, and then people make comments, and then there's no responses.
Right.
Same
It,
with open houses, are more traditional. What were you going to say?
oh, I was going to say that if you have 10 comments on your video from other people, there's no reason why you shouldn't have 20 comments on there of you commenting back to each person.
Yeah, 100%. I just think this is, I don't know what this is. whether it's a, um, people, because you said earlier on, you got to be a people person. Um, or you got to figure out a way that you can function as a people person. So what I would say is like, you know, for a lot of agents, they're going to have a hard time going into a chamber of commerce meeting where there's hundreds of business professionals and striking up a conversation with, going in there with a goal of striking up 5 to 10 conversations. This is a way, this video, social media content creator, consistent,
Yeah.
deployment of content, but also open houses where you can engage. So to me, I am, I my palms sweat if I've got to go to a big event where I don't know anybody and it's like I got to build my business that way. I would much rather, do it through social media content and open houses and still accomplish that same goal. And who knows, through those two, um, I think strategies, I might build up enough confidence to one day go into a damn, chamber of commerce meeting, and maybe by that point, I know so many people, so many people know me from the content. They're going to come up to me and go, "Hey, aren't you the chicken sandwich guy?" You know,
Ex-
and is that working for you? Is that, and you can start talking to them about video, and how they can grow their business with video, and who knows where it'll lead.
You hit the nail on the head right there. That's exactly what I was thinking was, if you get out there on the video, you're eventually going to get to a spot where the people are coming up to you and they're like, "Hey, I saw your video about this or that," or, I saw you're doing ranking chicken sandwiches. How's that been going? What's your favorite? What's the worst? People always like to know what's the best and what's the worst. Um, so yeah, that makes going into a room so much easier if you put yourself out there and people already sort of know you, that that helps tenfold.
I don't hear a lot of people, and it may be the first time this has been brought up on these calls. I haven't been doing them forever, but about joining a team. I joined a team, have been a member, I think, of two different teams. It just helped me tremendously. The mentor, I mean, it was a means to an end. At KW we had a mentor that was with us for the first three transactions. I would have been in trouble had I not had that mentor. But for me, I think I would have had a much faster start if I would have just gone straight onto a team, to begin with, because you want to talk about training on steroids.
Yep. And the team is not necessarily a career thing. And I tell all my agents that, like, I know we're not going to be together forever, but we're going to be friends forever. And that's okay with me. Whenever you're on my team, you're gonna get my heart and soul. I'm gonna pour into you like you're my own, and that's what I put on the table. And you're gonna get all my knowledge, all my screw ups from my 10 years doing this. You're gonna learn from those, so you don't make those mistakes, and you're a better agent than me at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not because I mean, you can overstay your welcome. There's two sides to that coin. I've had some people, want to leave my team and just stay to where the relationship starts to suffer. They just feel like they're trapped. And it's
Yep.
just like, hey, if I would have known your bad attitude was, based and rooted in the fact that you were just ready to maybe spread your wings and go out on your own, then we should have this conversation 6 months ago instead of us, ruining the relationship. But yeah, communication is the key. I think more team leaders need to do what you're doing in terms of setting proper expectations, because, and I think the team model is changing drastically, but it was like, hey, the goal was to get these people on your team and make sure they never leave, be the vehicle for their success, whatever that looks like, or they're going to leave and you're putting all this training into them. Um, so, just go in there and be like, hey, I'm going to be here for 1 or 2 years. That's probably pretty realistic, don't you think?
Yep, exactly. That, each, I mean, even one of my one of my best agents who I actually grew up with. He then joined my team, and now he has his own team. But I saw that he actually was a part of the top 100 agents in our city just yesterday or the day before. And I mean, that always makes me smile because they started with me. I taught them what I knew. And of course, they adapt to the way they want to do things. But, it all stems back to I at least helped them get a start and I showed them at least the path. And then they took that path and made it their own. And now they're successful. And I love seeing that.
Yeah, and you just never know what could happen in a honey versus vinegar approach. That agent, you know, may come across a family member or a friend or something who wants to get in real estate, and who knows? I don't know if they have their own team now or whatever. But if they don't, or they might say, "Well, how'd you get to where you are today? How'd you get to the top 100?" Oh, well, I started with Larry Hall's team. And I would
Yeah.
say, listen, if you want to get a start in real estate and be where I'm at, join his team for a year or two. So you just never know how it's going to come back around full circle. There may that person could get out of real estate. Real estate could just be a launching pad. They could become a builder or get into mortgage and, go, man, I'm going to send every referral to Larry because of what he did for me. So, um, you know, I think sadly that is not the approach for most team leaders. It's like, hey, let me lock this person out of my systems and my life when they leave. And that's not a win-win strategy for anybody.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the team members that I've had to just let go in the past because the whatever it was, it just wasn't working. I mean, I always tell them, hey, I'm still here for you. It's just we're not working together day in and day out, but you are still welcome to call me. I'm still going to call you. Like we're still going to be buddies. We're still going to go have a beer together every now and again. And I don't want it to be something where I see you at the grocery store and I avoid you. I want to come up and I want to shake your hand and give you a hug and say hey and see how the family's doing.
Mm, love it. All right, Larry, that does it for you on Mega Agent Mastery. You handled the 5 questions beautifully. I really appreciate you taking the time, an hour out of your schedule to invest in us. And I hope you don't mind if we cut this content up and put it everywhere on all the major channels, because I know it's going to make a difference in the life and business of some real estate agent out there somewhere.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, I'll get this content to you, my friend. You have a great day, and I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for
Thanks,
having me.
Larry. Bye.